So my name's Florence. I'm currently a project officer for the Restoration and Renewal client team, which is within the House of Commons. And when I completed my apprenticeship, I was a quality practitioner for the Restoration and Renewal Delivery Authority. So just a little bit of information about restoration and renewal. So R&R is the major programme that is completing the restoration of the Houses of Parliament. The Delivery Authority completes the design and delivery of the projects, and then the client team represents the voice of the MPs, Lords, staff and other parliamentary personnel. So we ensure that what the Delivery Authority is delivering represents the requirements of the stakeholders. So we work very closely together, Delivery Authority, client team and the parliamentary side as well. So I did business A level when I was at school, which is where I first heard about quality. We looked at Toyota and lean production and all those things that go into business. And then I went home and I talked about it because I found it really interesting. And actually, found out that my dad works in that area as well, which I had never really known. So we had quite a lot of fun discussions at home. But from the start of year 12 is when I first heard of it. So I was planning to go to university to do engineering, and I got a place and prepared to do all of that. And then I thought I actually don't really want to go to university. I'd rather be practical and hands-on. And then I want to work in buildings generally. So this opportunity came up to work in a construction industry in quality management, which sort of amalgamated everything that I wanted to learn. I think the key learnings for me, content wise, were a process approach. I've always been a very logical person, but sort of writing down a process and understanding how you go from what you want to achieve to achieving an outcome and being able to map that is really important. And that actually became my role subsequently in the second half of my role at the Delivery Authority. And then also understanding the theory behind assurance. So I was in a quality and assurance team. So the quality part is obviously the majority of the apprenticeship, but the auditing and the assurance was really interesting for me because I could understand what the other half of my team were doing, and that helped. The assurance part helped the quality part as well, because then I knew what they were looking for from an assurance perspective, so I could make sure that was implemented from the quality side. And then more sort of personally wise, definitely improved my time management. I mean, working for corporate functions, projects, and then doing an apprenticeship as well definitely is a lot of pressure, but I learned how to manage all those things, which was really useful for me. And now in my current role, time management is absolutely everything. So that was really probably my biggest learning. I think for where I was, it was so much more effective. I was at still am at the very start of my career, and I hadn't done very many CPD courses. I've subsequently done more, and they are very intensive, very pressurized, and you sort of have that, 5 days or however many days where you have access to a person, and then that access sometimes ends, and you can't ask any more questions, and that's your one opportunity, and you're kind of finished. But with a modular approach, and having your coaching sessions within the learning sessions, it gives you the opportunity to learn the theory, go away, put it into practice, or attempt to put it into practice, or realize you didn't know how to put it into practice, and then go back to your coach and say, actually, I really don't understand this, or can you explain this in a different way? And I think for me, especially given my cohort, I think everybody, or the majority of people, were all like goods or production. Um, we're a service company, and we don't have that many tangible deliverables at this point, or where we were at the time. So I found it quite difficult sometimes to put the concepts into practice. So my coach was great. He was always available via email I definitely took advantage of that, and I really enjoyed being able to come back the next week or month or whatever and being able to follow up on any concerns that I had before. I don't think you get the same in other CPD courses, especially the ones that are like so intensive and so short. My project was to implement an integrated management system. So we were working to 4 international standards, the ISO standards, and I was focusing primarily on 9001, which is the quality standard, but I also had specialists from the other 3 areas to bring in their knowledge and expertise. And the 2 main things that I produced were an integrated management system platform portal that included putting together an operating model for the organization, which covered the corporate functions and the projects, and then the program and project life cycles. It's a major program, very complex. So it has all your inputs, your benefits, your outputs, everything incorporated into one sort of diagram, and then making that interactive so that on our SharePoint platform, all of the relevant documentation and guidance and information that anybody in the organization may need would be accessible to everybody. And then the other side of that, I wrote an implementation strategy, which was how we were going to implement the integrated management system into the organization. So that covered clauses, I think 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10 from all of the standards. And then we had supplementary specialist sections that the other people were able to input into because they weren't my areas. Yeah, definitely. So obviously it's got a more project viewpoint on it, but the process mapping, so that became a big part of my role towards the end in my previous role. But now in my current role, I use process mapping very, very often, weekly, as well as scheduling. So it's sort of, they go hand in hand at the moment. So we're mapping all of our deliverables out and how the engagement is going to take place so that we get to the business case or the approval that we need and when different milestones are. And I think my knowledge of process mapping and understanding how to get from one thing to another really is backing that up. And it's, I think, making it a lot easier on me. I think if I didn't have that background in the process management bit, then I would find it really difficult because I would be overlooking so many steps and not looking from such a simplistic viewpoint. I think my main piece of advice is don't look at it as I didn't get into uni, I'm going to do an apprenticeship instead. It's not a backup plan. It's actually so different to university, and it's so much more rewarding if you're a hands-on person, but also so different. The expectations are very different, and also not to forget that you do have to have a job at the same time. So you do have to do those 4 days of work as well as your 1 day of learning. And if you can commit to, that potential stress, that potential issue with time management, then I think it's a really good opportunity. Get to meet a lot of like-minded people, especially with my cohort. We were all across the country, so everyone in a completely different role, a completely different organization, and it's a really great opportunity to learn about a lot of things within a relatively short amount of time. Something that I think that put quality management into perspective in like the real world was reading a book called The Checklist Manifesto. And I think it puts into perspective how the things that we do in life generally are so complex, but actually you can really simplify them down and you can achieve actually whatever you want. So it wasn't necessarily influential in my learning, but definitely I took my learning and made me think, oh, okay, actually, although I think that's really difficult and really unachievable, maybe I can do that. And that's a lot came from that book. It was a really interesting read.